here we are. It's been a little while.
It's been a while. Happy New Year. I think this is the first one. And maybe it's the first one we've done this year. I can't remember now.
First or second.
First or second. Happy New
Yeah.
Year. Welcome to January.
Welcome to January and welcome to Leadership Uncertain, where we are adventuring in confusion, love, power, and dignity. all the stuff that leaders contend with.
Yes.
Everything else maybe arguably is one or more of those things combined.
Yes.
So I thought I'd start us off today, Hugh, with a story. A few weeks ago, I brought one of my colleagues, a relatively new person on my team, in on a project with a client who is struggling. And we were there with the client and the team. We had a game plan. Well, it turned out not to be a specific enough game plan for us to run it together, looking like we were headed in the same direction.
Okay.
And things were tenuous enough with this client and his team, not through us, that tenuous enough on their side that I wanted to be as conflict-free on our side as possible.
Okay.
So at a break, I spoke to my client. We had 10 minutes. And at some point during that break, I said, hey, let's talk for a second because I want to adjust our mutual expectations here.
Okay.
And she did not agree with what I thought was critically important. Okay. And we had just moments left before everybody would come back in. And we were going back and forth. And clearly each one of us was not feeling heard by the other. And in my hurry and frustration, I heard myself say something that I instantly regretted.
Oh no.
Which was, I totally get it. Makes sense. And I've got a lot of experience and expertise here too.
Oh no. Okay.
Oh no, indeed.
Okay. Okay.
And then everybody came in and we didn't have time to kind of unpack that little rat's nest. And I was having some thoughts this morning that brought me back to that moment. And we have, since she and I gone back and talked about that moment. I was like, hey, not my proudest moment. And here's what was happening for me. And I apologize that I did that. Not my finest moment. So one of the things that occurred for me this morning as I was thinking about status, which is one of the things that we work on with our clients is status. We distinguish between status and rank, and that's something we can talk about in a moment if we want to. I was thinking about status and how important it is for me in my life to maintain a high status frame, not a higher status frame. I would say, in fact, that in that moment, I was experiencing what I thought of as a low status frame, and so I tried to grab some status back.
Yes.
And I remembered the chihuahua that bit me through my shoe. And then I think about, and maybe you've heard this also, lots of chihuahuas are aggressive. And I call that I tend to think that's a failure on the owner's part. And part of that failure is reflected when owners say, and so many chihuahua owners say, as their dog is aggressively yapping and nipping, he thinks he's a really big dog. And what I think every time is, no, he knows he's a teeny tiny dog and he doesn't want anybody else to know it. And then I thought about my neighbor's dog when I was a kid, this giant mastiff, bull mastiff, this huge dog, and he was a puppy dog. I mean,
Mm.
just a cream puff. And man, could he have messed me up in a second if he needed to. And every mastiff I've ever met has been like that, just a total cream puff. And so part of the commitment that I made to myself this morning is I got to just be the mastiff that I am. Like
Okay.
occupy that that kind of cream puff status. It got me thinking even about an argument that I had with my wife a couple of weeks ago, where I could feel myself going just like a chihuahua.
Mm.
So I went and got a picture of a mastiff and a chihuahua, and it's up in my office now. So today I thought we might talk about leading through status anxiety.
I've been very blessed in my life. One of the coolest things that ever happened to me was I was the recipient of the Carl A. Spatz Award. I think it was August 1997. I got it
Congratulations.
when
I
I was
don't know what that
17.
is.
I'm about to tell you. It is the conveyance of the rank of cadet colonel, which is the highest grade you can get as an Air Force cadet. It's 3 diamonds. Most cadet colonels are 20 when they get the award. So they get to be in that grade for about usually 6 months tops. And then they age out and they become senior members in the program if they want to be. I got it at age 17, which meant that I was going to be a cadet colonel with no upward mobility. There was no higher that I could get for another 4 years. That means when you walk into a room and you have 3 diamonds on your shoulders, people expect a lot because 1% of the cadet population gets it, period. 1% of 1% passes on their first try. 1% of 1% of 1% have it before the age of 19. So it was a pretty big deal. And here I am showing up. And what I learned from being a spots cadet for 4 years is that the grade gives you about 7 minutes. About 7 minutes.
I love that.
To decouple any assumption about your heirs from your competence and your ability to connect. Because what was really powerful was the first 2 years after the award, I was the loneliest I'd ever been. Because everybody, I stopped going to my regular squadron that I was assigned to, and I would start visiting other squadrons. Because you pop in, and immediately the cadet command structure that was in that squadron would be like, oh no, some outside stranger who thinks he's the shit is coming in here and is going to tell us what to do, and who's going to, he's going to have an attitude. These guys are so cocky normally because they've reached it. They've reached what everybody wants to go get. And if I really wanted to be helpful, my goal had to become to lay the full complement of my intelligence and my capabilities at your feet. So it wasn't the fact that I was a cadet colonel that you had to pay attention to. It was the fact that I was a cadet colonel, and let me tell you how not to screw things up, because I've done it a couple of different 100 ways, and I can lay my experience at your feet. And if you need me to go into the kitchen to support your cadets and counsel the ones that are not doing that well, or if you need me to teach drill in front of your sergeants, or if you need me to show people how to salute, or if you need me to check your paperwork so that way you can also, or if you need me to support you in studying, or if you need me to teach you or tutor you on the exams that I passed in order to get here, all of it is available to you. Because I only realize that everything that I have come to appreciate and achieve in my life is useful only in so much that it is in service to the betterment of the person that I'm facing. And that lesson was hard fought because I had to be very arrogant for a very long time and get my butt handed to me in so many ways. I remember I was at Maxwell Air Force Base in in Alabama, Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama, and it was before I got the award. I had finished all of the educational requirements for the award 2 years before. So I had to wait months and months and months to go through the promotion cycle for my rank and grade to catch up to the education level.
Mm.
But education is not maturity. So at this point in my career, I was incredibly arrogant. I knew every regulation, and I didn't have a problem letting you know that I knew every regulation. And I remember we were at the cadet officer school, and it was a week long engagement where they put you in these seminars with kids from all around the country. And your job was to get yourself fed, get yourself to class, and take these other human beings with you. And they would basically switch you out to lead. So you would lead for 2 days, and then somebody else would be the commander for the group, and then you'd all just practice. And I remember that nobody would follow me at all because I was such a jerk. I look back now, and I was an incredible jerk. For being so smart, I was so unintelligent because I thought that when you did things right, people needed to respect you because you knew everything. And if
Mm.
you'd done the work and you had perfect grades and you had all these other things going for you, of course, why wouldn't they listen? They need to listen to authority, and they need to listen to people who are better than they are. And clearly, I am better than you are,
Clearly.
was the addy. Clearly. Um, I was an astonishingly arrogant 16-year-old. I'll give you one more point. I remember in a reviewing board, a bunch of adults were reviewing me for Cadet of the Year for the state of Florida, which I won. And they asked me what was the most important trait of an officer. And I
Mm.
had the gumption to tell them poise, because it is important for me to behave as if there is a thin sheet of air between my feet and the ground. I said that to other human beings. Okay? So I made fun of one of the people in our seminar at this cadet officer school experience. And I think that was the last straw. So we had a series of presentations we were supposed to give that were driven by a number of speeches. And going on the stage, right before I was supposed to go and talk in front of 350 people, one of the team members took me aside and reamed me for being a complete butthole for the previous 5 days. And he laundry listed everything that I had done wrong and why I did not deserve to even lead a cockroach
Mm.
out of a bathroom. And it was so powerful that when I got on stage, because it was that, the reaming, and then I walked on stage and had to give my speech. And about 45 seconds into the speech, I just started crying. Completely broke down, emotionally destroyed in front of 350 people who couldn't figure out why this cadet in uniform in Class A's was just breaking down and crying. Here's what I learned: your status is a gift that gives you the prominence in order to serve. If your mission is anything other than serving, you are wasting time, effort, money, and attention. And that was the lesson of the moment. And it would take me another 10 years of getting my butt kicked in a number of fantastic ways, ending with the arrogance of my creating an environment for my employees in which they colluded together to steal from me, the smartest guy in the room. Multiple master's degrees and blah blah blah, and I had all of this, and
Mm.
they stole 200,000, there's $150,000 between the three businesses after the theft. And I spent 2 years earning less than $2 an hour working in one of my stores.
Mm.
And I served 4,800 customers personally because I didn't have the money to buy and pay for someone to work because I'd already blown through all my money with my investors. I'd already torched all those relationships. And so after serving those 4,800 people, I became the shopkeep. Didn't matter what my story was. It didn't matter where I came from. Could I listen? Could I support? Could I solve the problem that was in front of me? Those were the characteristics that mattered. Not how much money I had in the bank, not how much I had done this week, not how great I was, not how much I could lift, not how smart I was, how many degrees I had. None of that mattered anymore. And only what I could be of service to the person that was in front of me at the time. And that what after 2 years, I remember the last day of working, there was a guy who came into the store. I may have told you a story. He had a lady in the car and he came in because he was about to be shipped out to the Navy and he didn't know if he was going to really stay with her, but he loved her dearly and his life was kind of falling apart, even though he was going after this new adventure. And I just sat and I listened to him and I realized no one had listened to him in quite some time. And at the end of the conversation, after he told me all these terrible things, the store was very slow that day. I said to him, isn't it a beautiful thing that we can have nightmares in nice warm beds? So I said to him. And he cried. And we were separated by 1.5 inches of bulletproof glass because they needed them in the stores. So he reached his fingers underneath the grate and we held hands in the store. And it was the last day I worked because I realized at that point my transformation was complete. I had become the shopkeep. It did not matter who I was or what I was or how much I had achieved. I was in service connecting with other human beings. And that is what mattered. So when you ask me about status, sure, I am the best resource in the world for construction migration accounting. I'm sorry, construction accounting data migration. Sure. Is that a fact? A lot of people would tell you what it is. You get on a sales call with me, and it doesn't matter that I'm the best in the world at what I do. What matters is what your challenge is and whether or not the skill sets that we have at our disposal can support you in the thing that you're trying to do. That is how we use status, and that is how we leverage it. And if we are insulted or if we are degraded, that tells me more about the person doing the talking than it tells me about me. Because I am focused when I'm at my best, I get to manage my own ego, I get to breathe, and I get to find myself concerned not with how I look, but with how I serve and how effective I am at listening and understanding the person in front of me and their issues. Is that helpful?
I don't know. It's interesting. You know what? Well, the story that I told, and the story that I see playing out in workplaces all the time, is what happens when we become status anxious. And I'll clarify what I mean by status as opposed to rank. Right? You talk about your 3 diamonds. That's rank. It's influence and power conferred upon you by an organization.
Okay.
Right? Status, I'm calling influence conferred upon you by others socially. It's generally kind of a softer power. There was no question for me in that moment about my rank. That's a foregone conclusion. And something in being contradicted and dismissed pricked my anxiety that I was losing or had lost or was not being seen for the status that I should have. That anxiety is what has me and so many others do things to try to claw back that status that we know like you talked about that 7 minutes, right? Your rank can buy you 7 minutes of status provisionally.
Yeah.
That's what I see as that gap. And people talk about what's the word that they use, the term imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
right? Imposter syndrome is one form of status anxiety, being a little chihuahua nipping at the heels of the big dog, so the big dog doesn't ever realize how tiny you are. That's a symptom of status anxiety. I think there are a lot of people who don't relate. There are a lot of people who do relate to imposter syndrome. There are a lot of people who don't relate to the idea that they have imposter syndrome. And yet, even as leaders, they use terms like insubordination,
Mm.
which is, I would say, a reflection of your status anxiety. They say things like, that's what I'm paying you for,
Whoa.
right? They say things like, because I'm the boss. These are this is chihuahuaing, right?
So,
In my view.
so I realize status has cost me so much professionally.
Mm,
It's nothing like having $250,000 taken because I'm the boss.
mm,
I'm paying you for that. I get to take vacations. You need to stay here and work. That was
mm.
the attitude.
Yeah.
And in my world, that there was an event back in 2007 that was so painful. I realized I could never do that again for my own survival. And so when I find myself feeling, oh, I should be more respected, I recognize how other people are feeling and reacting is their journey. And my knowledge is not in service currently. So if my knowledge is not in service, if I am not in service currently, then there is no status to be leveraged. I'm just a dude sitting in a chair listening to people
Yeah.
talk.
Well, interestingly, you talk about people stealing quarter million dollars from you because you're the boss, right? I see that as yet another symptom, maybe not of your status anxiety, although your status anxiety may have gotten you there.
Yes.
That is a symptom of their status anxiety.
Sure.
And one of the things that I talk about with my clients is sometimes they talk about the petty theft that happens in their organizations, whether it's wage theft or people are taking uh, uh, office supplies home and things like that. Sometimes taking office supplies is just because people just go, oh, it's here, it's handy, it's convenient, it's not that expensive. Sometimes it's just a matter of convenience. Sometimes it's that the small actions that people are taking to claw back some of their status and dignity when they feel as if it has been eroded by the environment, eroded by the employer, this is my way of making sure that when I go home, I don't feel the effects of your having been stealing status from me as your employee.
One of the interesting things that I've found is you don't necessarily have a lot of wage theft when you have heroes. So it's very important to me that before I bask in anything that looks like adulation or adoration, I get to the business of celebrating the heroes that are around us. If I can find truly legitimate, praiseworthy things to focus on that other people around us have done, especially in the business, it's amazing what can come of it. Now, it has to be authentic. We are not blowing smoke up people's butts. That's not the point. But I can honestly tell you one of my favorite parts of the weekly meeting that we have on Tuesdays is the weekly win section. We're on EOS, and so we do weekly wins. And the weekly win in our company, I didn't realize this, weekly wins in other people's companies, they will celebrate stuff that happened for them. I got this thing done and I'm so happy and la la la. And that's awesome. In our company, what's curious, and I love it, is that no one ever celebrates their own weekly wins. It's always a shout out. I want to thank Diego for having done this thing over here that was crazy hard to deliver. I want to thank Guy for coming through because he really didn't need to. And he stayed up all night getting this thing done. I want to thank Carlos. He invented a new ribbon in Excel and deployed it to everybody. And now we have our own ribbon. And look at that. I mean, companies that are serious have their own Excel ribbons, right? And so there be heroes. And with that, the ability for you to then convey, you want status, give it. Give it. You have let's talk about some great bad ideas. I'm going to go first. Let me honor yours. And the idea becomes, hey, how can we elevate? You've really hopped me up on the idea of endorsing and accentuating someone else's dignity before I indulge in my own. And so, there are moments where the feedback is, I don't trust you and I don't think you can do what you say you can do. I get that during sales calls. I get that pushback from certain clients. And I recognize that's not a criticism of me. That is feedback. And I have an opportunity to listen, to hear, to understand where they're coming from and figure out and find out what's driving the doubt or concern. And I can connect with that. And what I found is that's where my status starts to come back, is not through defending or trying to, tussle with you to get back what I think I should have. It's more about, what do I need to do to elevate your status so that you can see mine?
You're totally reminding me of the circumstances under which you and I met. However many years ago it was now, where we were asked to train all of these implementers, these consultants, on how do you bring difficult clients along to get to the finish line on time, on budget, on scope, with better NPS scores.
Yes.
And you and I and all the other participants in this training must have been together, I think, by the time we got to this point that I'm about to describe. This is the 5th out of 6 sessions.
Okay.
So that's 11 hours so far, something like that. And when we get to this distinction that we make at the S-Works between rank and status, and I asked, what have my co-trainer Adam and I been doing for the past 10 or 11 hours to elevate your status? And I could see across the screen all of these light bulbs going off. And people said things like, you asked us questions. You asked us follow-up questions. You said, tell me more about that. You wrote down everything that we said. We're taking notes by hand. You wrote down everything that we said. And over the course of those 10 or 11 hours, we could also see people nodding more, coming on time to the sessions more, asking more questions, essentially giving us as the trainers more status all along. And I would argue, as I did to you and to them then, we've earned more status the more we have pushed status in your direction.
Yes.
And so,
be heroes.
Yeah, there be heroes. B, when I find myself chihuahuaing, I gotta remember, all right, let me start giving it away. I will occupy the story of I am a mastiff. I do not need to bark and snarl.
Yes. And let what comes may. And the amazing thing, one of the freest practices I have now is I stop trying to demand respect. I've
Yeah.
just stopped.
Man, the minute
Done.
you start, and the minute I have ever started to demand respect is the minute that I have absolutely lost any chance of having
Perspective.
the respect at the
Absolutely.
level that I
And
want.
it's just such a it's and it's and there's and you want it. You want to be seen a certain way. There's a lot of pull in the ego to have people experience you as you want to be experienced. You want them to see you the way you want to be seen. And yet there's some images that you just, in order for you to be at your most effective, you just gotta let go. Just let go. Okay, so you think I'm an idiot. Got it. How else may I serve you? What else can I do to make the world a better place to live? We're just there.
Yeah. Um,
Got it.
so it's sure easy to say and no. Anytime I start to feel defensive or like my pride is hurt
Mm,
or like I need to demand respect or I need to raise my own status, it's
mm.
easy for us to say, all right, well, that's the time to really lean into service. That's the time to really lean into extending status to the other person. Um, and man, the amygdala gets going,
And a lot of
and
breathing is necessary.
yeah,
I tell you what, one of the beautiful techniques that I learned a long time ago, especially when the ego is rearing its ugly head, is to feel the coating of air on your lungs as you breathe,
mm,
because it just slows down the nature of reaction. Because the worst thing that you can probably do is catch yourself saying things that you wish you could yank back.
yeah, not too good, right? You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, you want to yell, scream, complain, defend, and all from a righteous place that you can easily
Oh yeah,
justify.
yeah. No,
Easily
there are all
justify.
kinds all kinds of good reasons for
Yes,
being
they're
in the
terrible.
state
Blah,
that
blah,
I'm in.
blah. I'm right. And
You put me
honestly,
here.
well, and you know what's amazing? I say this to my team often as we navigate some very beautifully challenging customers, is a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, you have to choose
Mm,
between being right and being effective.
mm.
Which would you rather be?
One of the things that I really love about that is how it contrasts with another kind of supposedly enlightened leadership. The idea that I'm going to protect my team from any such difficult customer.
Hmm.
And it's not that I'm not for that, because there are people who won't be talked down.
Okay.
There are people who are so deep in whatever story of victimization they're telling themselves that no amount of respect and giving them status is going to end the abuse.
Hmm.
So I am absolutely for protecting your team. And
And
one of the things that I have come to appreciate about you over the years is you have enough respect for your team. And don't let me put your words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong, that protecting them is not your first go-to. Your first go-to seems to be to treat everyone with respect, elevate everyone's status. And if you can't play nice even when you're being given that level of witness, then okay, we'll start setting boundaries.
that is a that's a very fair point. So, huh, we have we
And
have
let me just say one more thing before you say
sure.
that.
Mm.
because I want to reiterate that I see that as a profound level of respect for your team. I think there's a lower level respect reflected in, if you even raise your voice to somebody on my team, I'm going to step in like a mama bear and stand between the customer and my employee who's being yelled at. We can all withstand a little bit of pressure
Mm.
long enough to deliver enough kindness to see how it's going to go.
You raise a very good point where there is an ocean of nuance. I don't have the time to take you through it all. However, let me hit on some of the high notes. You ready? You're absolutely right in that priority number one isn't to keep my team insulated from frustrating situations. Not at all. As a matter of fact, if they're going to get good like me, they need to go serve 4,600 customers and get, the person spitting on the glass. And then you just realize, oh, that's about them. That's not
Yep.
me. That's not about me. And so giving them the opportunity to go find mastery while knowing that they are supported, not
Yes.
protected, supported. So
Love
here's
that
how it works.
distinction.
Somebody gives them a hard time, not listening, not doing what they're asking, not following the process and protocols. I am always back up. Their status update meetings are 15 minutes. Just let me know when you need me to be there and what position you need me to take that supports whatever you're trying to communicate. I am simply the tool in your toolkit. Don't abuse me because there's going to be inflation. So, make me your scarce resource when you need your point to be made and it's not coming through the customer. But I serve at their direction, my employees'
Mm.
direction, however they need me to advance the protocol.
I,
That's how that works.
it's almost like you're treating them like grown-ups.
Yes. Yes. And I'm the they know what the objective is. They're the ones that are in charge. And if they just need a voice that is more powerful than theirs, or that has the ability to say the exact same thing, but from a different perspective that doesn't have the same baggage, and I've been told that the beard is very effective at making people relax. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, because I will show up to the conference call and I will say exactly the same thing that the project manager has said 4 million times. And all of a sudden, the customer hears it exactly the way they need to hear it. And they're like, okay, got it, no problem. And I am given the benefit of perspective where I will make concessions and offerings, and I will make sure I take an extra moment to make sure that they're heard, the customer's heard, and at the same time, always backing up the project manager that brought me in at their discretion. And when I'm done, I say, Jenny, is there anything else that you need from me? And then I disappear. Why? Because I'm in service.
And
Yes,
Jenny is on your team.
Jenny's on my team.
Yes. You are there to serve Jenny.
Yes. Yes, and she is given the full authority of my voice, and then when we're speaking, she directs me on exactly what process and protocol we've already agreed on that she would like me to emphasize. And I talk only as much as she needs me to talk for us to get the process moving in the direction that we've agreed as a company that the process needs to move in.
Beautiful.
And so they are supported, they're not protected. Now, when customers do become belligerent and they start to cross lines, then we play it by ear. Because the other thing that happens is that really angry customers are probably the best form of reform, improvement, process design. Like they give
Yep.
us some of the best feedback, the
Yep.
ones that are the most just
It
challenging
doesn't
and
always come
pig-headed.
nice.
Oh my God. It's like, all right, how, and when we do the postmortem analysis, so we have a therapy session called a meeting, um, uh, low key therapy session called the Legacy Library. It's where
Mm.
once a month, we review all the projects that have closed within the past 3 weeks. And we go through what do we learn from that project that we can take and create new processes, validate old ones, refine ones that are already in place. And it's often a catharsis session where people get a chance to just express what they experienced with this particular project, whatever it was. And a lot of it sounds a lot like therapy, where people are just able to get a lot of things that came up during the process. And what ends up happening is, especially the hardest projects, the ones that have them, the people who are absolute, there's nothing more intriguing than a person who is a customer absolutely committed to their own sabotage. It's like, you're paying me, and yet you are doing everything to make this thing destabilize.
I have never had a client like that.
Really, that's
No,
amazing.
of course I
I also detected sarcasm. So the beautiful thing about that whole movement is that it tests your patience, it tests your processes, it tests your resolve, it tests your boundaries, your ability to keep on process, to be able to be appropriately flexible. It tests your paperwork, it tests your legal contracts, it tests your billing processes, it tests your ability to manage and affect scope creep. Like, these people are gold. So when you have them, you treasure them. You
Yes.
crap talk them out the
Yep.
wazoo in your legacy library areas, but you recognize their value, because
And
if you can learn the right things, you will get better. Go ahead.
And in respect to today's topic of leading through status anxiety, one of the things that I find they test the most, and perhaps the most valuable thing that they test, is my own status anxiety. What is my status with myself?
Yes.
If my status with myself is, if they is pricked, then my patience,
Yes.
my
You start
temper,
arguing and getting into such
yes,
nonsense conversations with them.
right.
Absolutely.
And so talk about a gift. Right? Is 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 this jerk on the other side of the conversation has just given me such a gift
Yes.
to examine,
Yes.
why am I so insecure here?
Hmm.
And what can I do? Speaking of adventures in confusion and love, what
Hmm.
can I do to fill in this crack in my own foundation
Hmm.
so that I am unprickable?
Well, I don't know that the goal is to be unprickable. What I'll tell you is the goal is to be administrative.
I think that's I think we're saying the same thing.
Probably. So the idea is that it's not that I'm unprickable because I want to be able to feel. It's that I want to have a professional, engaged, well-designed response to whatever you come with. So if you're going
With,
to come with something that destabilizes, we're ready for you.
right.
Cool. And a mentor of mine a long time ago said to me, Hugh, consider modeling yourself to be the sea. Consider
Be the,
yourself to be the sea, the ocean.
oh, okay.
When you smack the ocean, does it resist? It just splashes around. It could kill you on the right day. But today you're smashing it and it has no care. It's just moving,
Yeah.
bobbing, weaving with
Well,
whatever you're shooting to do
and
with
in
it.
fact, the harder you hit it, the more resistance it gives you. To
But
to the extent that it's the surface tension that kills you if you jump off a bridge.
but it is not phased. And it has no agenda. Not for you anyway. It's
Yeah.
doing its own thing.
And that's the when I say unprickable, I don't mean necessarily that you can't get through my armor. I
Okay.
don't mean that at all.
Okay.
So much that as I can see the knife go in, it could even hurt.
Mm.
And I am not, as you say about the water, I'm not phased. My
Right.
sense of self
It
is
remains
not
intact.
challenged.
And we can get you the help you need because you're out here stabbing people.
Right. And by the way, I appreciate that you asked us to solve this problem for you. And it turns out we don't serve stabbers here. So we're going to release you from your contract.
Oh, that was fun. No.
Hugh, when it comes to leading through status anxiety and how to recognize it, how to not damage others in the face of it, do you have any parting thoughts?
Sure. It's hard to do until it's easy to do. The idea is the warning signal that you're in status anxiety is you get uncomfortable and you might find yourself starting to defend ideas that you hold dear. It starts to show itself by saying things like, well, this has worked and you should listen to this, or you should behave this way, or I've done 2,000 of these, and so the way you're thinking about it may not be quite right. If you find yourself reinserting your idea because some reason that should sound fine or
you just used
impressive.
in interrogation and things like that, they call this the resume statement, right?
Yes.
I've done 2,000 of these. I've been, as I said earlier, right? I've been doing this for a while.
I mean, you can drop that in another kind of conversation, but if
As
we're
a
in
way
a place
of helping to bolster their confidence,
yes,
not as a way of trying to raise your own,
or put them down in some way,
yes,
or they give an
right.
idea. Well, we're not doing it that because da 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 da. Well, that is an idea. Let me tell you a couple stories. Is a different
when
way.
I went in for heart surgery, and my surgeon said something about the tens of thousands of these he'd done, I was like, I love that you told me that.
There you go. Exactly. So
thank you.
If you find yourself doing some of that to try to get back into control of the conversation,
yes,
take a breath. So the way we navigate our way through it, our way that we navigate through it, take a breath and recognize that you're safe. You are not about to disappear. And guess what? It's okay if you lose the sale. The sale can be lost. What we can do is find a way to be useful and helpful right now in the next statement. So they said something that doesn't sound very smart. You don't have to lie and tell them they sounded smart. They don't sound smart right now. What you can do is you can say, hey, I appreciate the creativity that you're bringing to the table right now, because that is not something that I've ever thought about doing, or that anybody who's done this competently has ever done before. Let's explore a few things. So that's a great idea. Let's also explore the following. And you reset by first honoring and acknowledging their idea honestly, earnestly, and then exploring how that can grow into something that they want, or something else can be something that they want. And this is your opportunity to use your intelligence, your creativity, your knowledge, your experience to insert ways that the possibility can come back into the conversation. So it's not about you proving that you're the best. It's about you being in service, and being in service. If you are truly the best, it will rise. It will float to the surface. You will not be able to hide competence, because ultimately people are looking for competence. Can this person solve my problem and be emotionally congruent and compatible enough for me to work with them as they solve my problem? If you can meet that bar,
and do they have my interests at heart?
if there is no question about your intention to support them as opposed to your intention to promote yourself, the intention to promote yourself will ring through all day. You will look like a superstar and you will get no contract signed. If your intention is to simply recognize, okay, this person has a need, and the level of support, my intelligence, and all the things I bring to the table, the highest level I can achieve is the ability to solve their problem in excellence. If I can communicate that capability and show them that their needs matter most in our design, and our entire communication is revolving around that need being met in excellence, to the extent that that can be almost your singular focus, they won't be able to tell you no unless it's a budget issue. They won't have this person has heard me. This person is showing that they can stand in for me. And this person is giving me the confidence that they can do the thing I need. That's business. That's business all the way around. Don't matter what you're selling, if that's how you're communicating. Now, if you're
And when you're talking to your own team, by the way, you are selling your leadership.
Amen. And you're selling their competence.
Also,
yes. You're selling. So the other thing that's now starting to happen is
I will buy you as a leader if you try to sell me my competence.
Yes. But that's what we do. That's what you do with your assistant. You show them, you train them, you invest in them, and then you congratulate them and make them a hero when they do the thing you said, but they do it past expectations. And there's this feedback loop that gets to happen. They supersede expectations, you make them a hero, you celebrate them to the world, you give them dignity, and they love that. All you got to do is pay them enough for them to feel okay at home and not be, ready to turn the lights off. And people will clamor for the opportunity to be seen and heard and celebrated in general. And that's how you build culture. And you do that intentionally as the leader. And so, as we talk about status anxiety, the way you get the real status is you do that with enough of your team members and you become the biggest hero of them all.
It's just, you're reminding me, I think it's Zig Ziglar. We'll take this back into sales world, right? I think it's Zig Ziglar who said, you can have anything in life that you want as long as you help enough other people get what they want.
Yes, absolutely. It gets back to some very, 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 very simple and straightforward concepts that are very challenging to execute. What are your parting thoughts to the fine folks?
My parting thoughts are about this self-diagnostic, right? If you feel Chihuahua-ish at all, and I'm talking to me as much as to you, right? If you feel Chihuahua-ish, if you notice yourself like I did in the quote of myself that I brought up at the very beginning of this conversation, if you notice yourself in any kind of resume statements, if you are in any way leveraging your rank, if you are feeling small and getting worked up about it, you are in status anxiety. And that's about you. It's about me. That is, as you said earlier, Hugh, that is the moment to take a breath. That is a moment to get introspective and stop worrying about what it is that the other has done to transgress, and instead to ask, what can I do for myself to raise my own status with myself so that I am less volatile? And one of the things that I would say you can do, and Hugh, you've been singing this song since the beginning of this episode, is serve the person who has irritated you. And not serve them a lesson. No. just in case that's where you're going, because I know I've gone there. Serve what they say are their interests. So those are my parting thoughts. Once again, this has been leadership uncertain, where every time we get together, we are adventuring. This has been an adventure in confusion and in power
Love
and in
power
love and in
and in
dignity. Yeah. Abuse of power is something that I think arguably only comes from status anxiety.
Mm.
So here's to you.
Thank you again.